In this video, I'm going to share my thinking about what I consider a revolution in the way humans communicate. I will focus on three major thoughts. One, the communication revolution is not the result of critical technology innovations, which is the way it is usually described. Instead, it came about from a multi-hundred-year effort undertaken by humans to improve their ability to collaborate and thereby differentiate themselves from all other living creatures. Two, the communication revolution substantiates the human biological imperative that we communicate to collaborate. And three, the most dramatic impact of the communication revolution is the same as the impact of the Copernican Revolution, a change in the human worldview. Let's start by traveling back hundreds of thousands of years ago to when the earliest humans did not yet have language and before they had a voice box. Nevertheless, these early humans still communicated. But how? They communicated by grunting and pantomime. Now let's put ourselves in the picture. Imagine that we're sitting around a fire we built to keep warm, for protection, and for social gatherings. I look at you and make a grunting noise to get your attention. Great. It worked. You're looking at me, just what I wanted. I stand up and you see me holding my spear while I act out the motion of throwing it. Now you see me point to an area of trees and some brush a short walk from where we are right now. And another success. You got my message. I'm ready for dinner. Let's go get something to eat. And off we go together on our quest for dinner. That's the way humans communicated a few 100,000 years ago. Grunts and pantomime. And it worked. After all, we were able to organize and succeed at our hunt for dinner, and we did that despite not having language. Sorry, that isn't totally true. Although grunts and pantomime work in our example of collaborating on a hunt for dinner, it works only when we are in the same place at the same time. That wasn't good enough. So the human animal began a very long effort to overcome the tyranny that space and time imposed on their ability to communicate. By yelling, they could expand the range of their communication. To expand the range even further, they used smoke signals and other tactics like drums. And to extend the value of their communication beyond the very moment when they communicated it, they painted on cave walls for others to ponder sometime in the future. But the humans obviously wanted to free their communication much more than that, so the effort continued. Through incremental gains and technology breakthroughs, the human finally succeeded in eliminating all the limitations that time and space imposed on their communication. So that today, after a multi-100,000-year effort, the messages I am communicating right now through this video can reach anyone anywhere in the world at any time. For all practical purposes, the human effort to eliminate the limitations that time and space impose on their communication has been achieved. That brings us to a fundamental question: why? Why did the human animal pursue, basically without let up, for hundreds of thousands of years, the effort to transform their communication from a here and now ability to a wherever and whenever ability? The answer to that question is critical because even more significant than the ability to communicate is the reason why we communicate in the first place. For more than 3 decades, Michael Tomasello, an American developmental and comparative psychologist, as well as a linguist, has conducted research to answer the seemingly simple question: why do humans communicate? Tomasello's research is compelling and widely accepted as providing the answer. Human communication isn't just meant to transmit information, but even more significantly, it leads to the ability to share goals and enable cooperative understanding. As we'll see in future videos when we focus more on Tomasello's research, the human is differentiated from all other animals because, in short, humans communicate to collaborate. That is the reason why humans devoted hundreds of thousands of years to unshackle their communication from any limitations, to collaborate. We communicate to collaborate, and we are the only living creature that collaborates. That raises tons of issues and questions. But for now, consider this question. Why do PR and ad agencies use as their modus operandi the effort to aim messages at their so-called targets in order to persuade them to accept those messages? Put another way, why does the communication industry rely on one-way messages meant to persuade others when it would be more effective to work collaboratively to build relationships? That will be the topic of future videos when I make the case that the business model the communication industry embraces today is just plain wrong. So, in the past few minutes, we discussed the idea that the communication revolution has been a multi-100,000-year effort by the human animal to maximize their ability to communicate for the purpose of collaborating with others. And that leads us to the next question we need to address. So what? Why does that really matter to you and me? And us, that is, all other humans? I believe we can find at least one answer to that question by taking a look at the impact of another disruptive change in the human worldview, the Copernican Revolution. Imagine a beautiful day in about 1540 in Warmia, Poland, where Nicholas Copernicus lived. On this day, Nicholas met his good friend Stanislaw for a bite to eat at a local inn, where Stanislaw already settled into a nice table on the patio. They warmly greet each other. They exchange some "how's the wife and kids" type of pleasantries, and then Stanislaw says, "You know, Nicholas, I couldn't imagine a better time to be alive. We've got the Renaissance, the Reformation, peace, prosperity. It really is a golden age." Nicholas looks at his friend and says, "Don't worry, Stanislaw, I'm about to screw everything up." At first, Stanislaw thought it was a joke. "I'm not kidding," Nicholas tells him, and then explains, "I've been working on a book that I'm calling On the Revolutions of the Heavenly Sphere." Stanislaw asks for an explanation of what that means. Nicholas explains, "You know how you think that we live in the center of the universe? Yes. You know how you think that where we live is unchanging? Yep. And you know how you think that everything we see in the sky revolves around us? Yep. Well, all that is wrong, and I can pretty much prove it's all wrong." Stanislaw looks seriously at his friend Nicholas and says, "No more drinks for you, Nicky boy." Just try to imagine Stanislaw's reaction, and try to imagine Stanislaw's awe when he saw the real meaning of what Copernicus was saying. The human worldview was beginning the pivot from religious doctrine to empirical observation. It took more than a century for the intellectual upheaval to play itself out, but in the final analysis, people had to face the harsh reality and accept scientific truths and a new worldview, a redefinition of how people saw their place and their role in the cosmos. So, as much as science was responsible for the creation of that new worldview, the Copernican Revolution was felt most directly by humans. It was a human revolution. Now we have to wonder, is it possible that the elimination of any impact from time and space on human communication is also a human revolution? Is it possible that although we may not see a change in worldview today, eventually humans will have a radically different understanding of time and space than we have today? What if we add to the mix Einstein's view of space and time, not the current understanding of space as a fixed three-dimensional stage, and not the current understanding of time as a separate, universal, and constant flow, but a view that space and time are inextricably linked into a single four-dimensional continuum called space-time? And how will the remarkable images we have begun to receive from deep space telescopes start being interpreted? Will our understanding of the cosmos change again? If so, how so? Will we learn of empirical proof that our current understanding of the cosmos is all wrong? How it began, its size, where it is moving, and its meaning, if there is any meaning at all? It's not going to happen next Thursday. It will take a while, but eventually there will be a transition from the human's existing worldview to a new worldview. And that transition is not going to be a serene process. There will be chaos, just as was ignited by the Copernican Revolution. Most significantly, some of the human's foundational beliefs will be challenged. We're already seeing initial signs of that prospect becoming all too real. All you have to do is turn on TV news. And as that continues to happen, it will also become all too obvious that regardless of how critical technology breakthroughs were needed for humans to achieve the communication revolution, it will prove to be a human rather than a technological revolution with monumental human consequences, just as the Copernican revolution was. If you agree, it might not be too early to buckle your seatbelts. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe I'm being an alarmist. We'll test that premise in the next video when we take a look at the power of a well-conceived and executed communication campaign. I've spent half a century seeing, and in some cases creating, such powerful campaigns at close range. I'll focus on one case history, the creation of the global consumer culture, to make my case. See you then.